not everything has been good for Indiana football. There has been some bad news that's come out. Just came out today. Breaking news. Donaven McCulley has entered the transfer portal. Indiana wide receiver Donaven McCulley is no longer a part of the Indiana Hoosiers football team. And this is sad to see because this is a new trend that is going on in college football right now. Because when you talk about the fact that there is the redshirt rule of if you play in 4 games and you do not play any more than that, then guess what happens? You can redshirt. And what people used to do, if you were like a backup and you didn't play a lot and you only played 4 games and you really weren't going to get on the field that much, then you would just get redshirted. That's just how it worked. You get redshirted, you play the next year. Well, now we got the portal. And in Donaven McCulley's case, I get it. He has 1 year of eligibility left, which was this year. He's only played in 4 games. So he has 1 year left now still since he's not playing in any more games because he missed the first game with an injury and he had played sparingly in the previous 4 games. And he is kind of low on the depth chart. I mean, Indiana's got a lot of great wide receivers right now. Absolutely. So when you talk about the fact that Indiana's wide receiver room is absolutely loaded, and Indiana literally just did like a post. They just did a post on Twitter. So absolutely, Mike Rotunda, definitely. Jackson probably will put the link in the chat again. It's actually further up. But yes, the Indiana channel is definitely it's on there. It's posted. Absolutely. I'm sure Jackson will get that. If not, I can try to pull it up real quick. But I appreciate you for wanting to subscribe. We want to get those numbers up. Absolutely. Want to get those numbers up for sure. But yes, the Indiana channel, it is live. It is on YouTube right now. We're at 32 subscribers. I really appreciate all you guys for subscribing so far. Jackson just posted it, and I'm going to post it again as well. Definitely. Trying to get those numbers up. Absolutely. Appreciate it. And appreciate it, Frank. I see you in chat. Absolutely. Jeffrey's a great young man. You don't know how much I appreciate those words, Frank. You've been a long-time viewer. I really appreciate it a lot. And I mean, your kind words are just so appreciative. I really appreciate it, Frank. Absolutely. We also got Doc P saying, Doogie Hooser, hello, Jeffrey. Like Doogie Howser. That's funny. Appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, back to Donaven McCulley, though. I mean, I get why he decided to transfer because you want to keep your eligibility. I understand it. It's just unfortunate because this is going to start happening more and more for more football teams. Even if you're a good player, like what hurts about this is that he's not a backup player. Because you look at right here, Indiana has 2 backups right here. Indiana linebacker Najee Logan and safety Tyreek McDaniel have entered the transfer portal as grad transfers. They both also entered the portal today. That's different because they weren't playing. They were backups. It does suck for depth because Indiana does not have as much depth on defense, which I am a bit concerned about. That is concerning. Indiana's depth on defense definitely is thinner than the offense. So losing those guys, even though they weren't playing, sometimes it's smart to stick it out. What if there's an injury to a starting guy? Then you could get thrust into a role. That's what I don't like right there. I do not like seeing that either, but I understand it from their point of view and the fact that they weren't playing right now at all. So transfer, retain your eligibility, and play somewhere else. Problem with McCulley is that last year he was their best receiver. He did fall down the depth chart this year because of an injury, but he could have been key for Indiana later on in the season. I'm not too worried about it, though. Is this a massive loss for Indiana? Yes. But is it going to massively hurt Indiana? No, I don't think it will, because the lucky thing for IU is that their wide receiver room is the deepest on the team. Very deep. So many talented receivers. Elijah Surratt, Miles Price, Miles Cross. You also have Keyshawn Williams, Omar Cooper. Indiana's receiver room is going to be fine. It stinks for McCulley, losing McCulley because he was a key part of it. And it also stinks for McCulley, too, because actually it does stink for him because now he's not going to be a part of this great team. And that's what, for me, I mean, I know I'm not a player. I'm not an athlete. But if I was, and I was a part of this could be one of the most special teams in Indiana history, especially after McCulley has been a part of the team for 4 years. I don't know, man. I think I would have tried to stuck it out, in my opinion. But he's got to do what he's got to do. He wants to be an NFL player. He wasn't getting on the field. Curt Cignetti, he preaches You got to do your job to get the ball. And that's what Indiana football tweeted. That's what I was saying before I started reading comments. Appreciate you guys a lot for being here, but absolutely. You talk about the fact that Curt Cignetti, he's not Tom Allen. He's not Tom Allen. The fact, like, you won your job, no matter how bad you are, you're going to keep your job. Like, McCulley was Indiana's leading receiver last year, didn't even play this year. An injury was part of it at first, but still, like, Cignetti, he wants you to do your job. You're going to get benched. You're not going to play if you don't do well. And McCulley, he actually called him out in spring. During the spring game, Donaven McCulley didn't do all that good. And Cignetti was like, no, this is not what I want to see from you, man. You got to do better than that. Cignetti is showing a standard. He's got a standard. If you don't meet that standard, you're not going to play. And it's unfortunate. McCulley was a big-time recruit that Indiana got at first a few years ago in the Tom Allen era. He's a 4-star quarterback. He switched to wide receiver after his freshman year. Has a lot of potential still. Even though he's an older guy, I think he could maybe be an NFL receiver one day. But it does suck. It's not going to be in Indiana for the rest of his career. And not this season, because Indiana, even though they got a lot of great receivers, he would have added to the depth. It's unfortunate. I think Indiana, they didn't really tweet it much because they were like really, really backups. But Indiana, I think, has lost about 7 players to the portal. And a lot of other teams have too. So just watch out for this trend. See how this trend, keeps going on year after year. How more players, after like 4 or 5 games or so during the season, just up and say, I'm entering the portal now. I'm no longer a part of the program because I want to retain my eligibility. I mean, I don't know how that works with NIL. I mean, my thing is, I don't know how NIL works. I'm not going to say I'm an NIL expert, but you got Donaven McCulley here. He's got an NIL deal at Indiana because he's a good player, and he was thought to be one of their best players this year at the beginning of the season. How's that work when now he enters the portal? Does his NIL deal just end? Does it stop? Is it over with? I don't know. I don't know how that works. I mean, does he continue to get all of his NIL? I don't know how that works, but that's going to just be something interesting to see. I mean, you saw it with Sluka at UNLV. Everybody remembers Matthew Sluka, how he just up and said, I'm leaving UNLV because he said something about he didn't get compensated fairly or something like that. So now the backup quarterback, he's been better than Sluka at UNLV after 1 game. We have to see more from him to see if he actually is better. But luckily for UNLV, they're not being affected by him transferring. But it's going to hurt Sluka because no one's going to want Sluka after what he did. McCulley, he's a receiver. I mean, I think he'll land somewhere, but honestly, I mean, Indiana was a great fit for him. Kind of an underdog story, underdog guy. I mean, I think he could have, really been able to break through the rotation later in the year if he just kept at it. But obviously him and Cignetti, maybe we're at odds. I don't know. But, I mean, Cignetti was challenging him, and maybe he just did not respond to adversity. But you're not going to be a pro player if you can't handle adversity. You have to be able to say, you know what, I'm not doing good enough. I got to do better. Absolutely got to do better. Frank saying rest in peace, Pete Rose. Absolutely sad with Pete Rose. Also, Mutombo. That's sad as well in the NBA. A lot of people passing away, unfortunate. Jackson also promoting Mark Rogers' book. Mark is going to be having a new book coming out this month. Absolutely. That is going to be awesome. Can't wait for that. You guys definitely should go check it out when it launches on the 29th. And also, like Jim said, hate seeing that during the season anywhere. Absolutely. You just don't want to see transfers like that. I mean, I don't necessarily think it's a bad look for Indiana. I don't. Because look at Sluka. He left UNLV and they're undefeated. Ranked for the first time ever even. So I don't think it's like going to really hurt Indiana's momentum in the fact that, they lost one pretty solid player. Now their whole season's wrecked. I don't see it that way. I just don't like seeing it at all. I think it's bad for college football. I get why the players are doing it. I understand why they're doing it. I don't blame McCulley. I still, appreciate everything McCulley did for Indiana. He was a fun player to watch for years. That one-handed catch he had against Illinois last year, it will be remembered for a long time. That was a fantastic catch, but, still at the end of the day, it is what it is. Him leaving, it stinks to see. It stinks with college football, and it does hurt for Indiana, even though I do think that its impact is not going to be all that bad.